Hello, everybody. Welcome to the RCHS podcast. My name is Dean. I'm a new host, and this is
Ikseong Choi. I'm back from the Super Bowl episode.
Today we're going to be talking about the environment and different ways that it's affected us this year.
So, talking about the environment, we had really weird weather in California this year. Yeah.
Yeah, we had snow coming down, which we never get because being in a low elevations and stuff.
Me personally, I was asleep that day. I slept in, so I didn't really see the snow. But everyone was talking about it. I saw some few videos. Did you actually get to see the snow?
I did get to see it. I was in my room, and then I was looking outside, and then I was like, oh shoot, it's snowing, and I went outside. I was super underprepared though because nobody was prepared for the snow. I was in short sleeves and a t-shirt because it's California. That's just what the normal weather is like. And I went outside and walked around for a little bit, and then I had to go inside because my mom said I was gonna get sick.
Yeah. So one thing I noticed was people here. I don't think they've never really seen snow fall, maybe they've seen snow in the mountains, but it was hailing, and some people are saying it was snowing because they didn't really know what snow really looked like. I've been to Korea, I'm from there, so I've seen snow fall, so I know what snow looks like, but some people here don't know what actually snow looks like when it's falling.
Down here in Rancho, we didn't have real snow. It was sleet. It was this wet slush that didn't even stick to the ground because it wasn't cold enough. But it was still exciting enough for people to start going crazy about it.
Yeah, we had a lot of snow in the mountains too. So we went snowboarding for the first time. I wiped out a lot, but it was pretty fun. Did you do anything over with the snow?
We couldn't really get up because a lot of the roads were blocked off, and I go snowboarding sometimes over the year. I've gone to Mammoth and Big Bear a couple times, but this year we didn't really do much.
Yeah, and this year we got a lot, not just snow. We have a lot of rain. It's raining. It's been raining throughout the week, even now, which is really weird because we usually don't get rain this time of year. We usually don't get this much rain, at all.
Yeah.
I think parts of California already got more rain than they do average annually, in a few months. So we had really weird weather this year. I think it wasn't too bad, but I don't think we were really well prepared for it.
And like we were saying, after it snowed that one week, it started kind of snowing again one day at school. It wasn't really snow, it was more hail.
Yeah.
But still, people they were screaming, running out of classrooms. Same thing that happened to me when I was in 6th grade. It started snowing at our middle school.
Yeah.
And people were screaming, running outside. The teachers couldn't control everybody, and they didn't know what to do, and the teachers were yelling at us.
Yeah, it was hailing really a lot last week.
Yeah.
And my 3rd period, my math teacher let us all out early, 5 minutes early to go see the hail because, he's chill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My Spanish teacher had to try to calm everybody down because everybody was oh my gosh, it's snowing, and they had to run outside.
Yeah. I saw you guys coming out from the classroom, and everyone was oh, we missed it. They were so disappointed. Anyway, it's we've been having really weird weather, but I think it was pretty cool to watch. Especially because we've been having a drought here. Last 3 years have been the driest years in the history of California.
Yeah. We kind of needed some refresher, some excitement in our days.
But the drought's still not over, this kind of really big drought, we need years of consistent rain, which we haven't been really getting. Do you know the causes of drought, or why there's a drought right now in California?
A lot of times droughts happen from overuse of water, people taking too long of showers, not turning your faucets off when you brush your teeth. I know people have heard this 1,000 times at their school meetings and stuff, but it's true. This is how we get into droughts. And
also I've heard farming in California really contributes, right? Because California is a really big agricultural state. If you drive a bit north or a bit south, it's all farms. And they have to use a lot of water.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's like necessary for them because that's their like job, but like
Yeah.
it is contributing to like the drought.
Like if you ever drive up, like my family lives in Monterey, we drive up there
Uh-huh.
sometimes to visit them, and you'll just see like
Yeah,
miles
yeah.
and miles of just cabbage fields just everywhere.
Cabbage fields, yeah, and like also we don't have good water storage. Like a lot of the water that's been coming like raining on California, it just goes to the ocean because
Yeah.
we're not prepared for the amount of water that like we get sometimes, because we rarely do, like, but we do, like, I think as like the climate's changing and like weather becomes more normal, we do need to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
So that we can like use the water that we get when we don't have the water. Like, because right now we're getting like water from like Nevada
Yeah.
and like the Colorado River, but like I think like we should be able to save, like if we are able to save more water that we do get, like it will be much better for
Like
us.
capturing the rainwater is a really good thing that we should do, because or else we're like depleting our natural resources.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the Lake Arrowhead, a lot of bottled water comes from up
Yeah.
there. And like if you just bottle the water, eventually the lake's just gonna dry up, and then we have no more Lake Arrowhead, and that's like a big famous landmark over here.
Oh yeah. So do you know any ways to like conserve water that we do have?
Well, like I said before, to conserve water, just like try recycling your water. Like, if you have plants at your house, try like finding ways to like save water by maybe watering them less, finding out what kind of plants need what kind of water, or maybe if you live in an area that you know suffers from a lot of droughts, like in California, you can buy like drought-friendly plants
Yeah,
that
drought resistant.
only need like water maybe like twice, like
Oh.
or like once every 2 weeks, like succulents and stuff.
Yeah, my brother actually did a science project on that his 6th grade year, where he looked at different types of grass and saw, like, try to see which one needed the least water. And I think that was really cool because we do need that kind of stuff here, because like especially in California where like we don't get a lot of rain, like, and to keep all those like lawns and stuff green, we need to use a lot of water. So if people start being aware of like how they can save water, I think our drought problem will become a bit better, you know?
Yeah.
So we've been talking about like, you know, our drought and our weird weather, but we want an expert opinion.
Yeah.
So we have a teacher here in Rancho that teaches
Yes.
environmental science.
It's my old teacher from my freshman year of high school. It's Mrs. Seeley.
And we will hear her opinion right now.
Hello, I am Bobby, and I am here with...
Mrs. Seeley, AP Environmental Science teacher.
Awesome. Thank you for being here, Mrs. Seeley. So, first of all, why did you choose to be an environmental science teacher?
Well, I actually majored in microbiology and chemistry, and I kind of started to learn back in about 1996 about some of the stuff that was going on around the planet, and I became very interested in it, and I became very interested in earth science as well. And so I went back to college and took a few classes and learned about it, and started this AP Environmental Science course when the APs first started offering it. And I didn't really know a lot about it at first, but as I learned more and more, it became my passion to try to make changes. I've always really loved animals, and that was a big part of it, seeing what was happening to animals that really kind of led me to this. But now it's my passion, and I devote 110% of myself to making sure that people know about what's going on.
Oh, that's awesome. So, can we attribute the snow that's been happening all around like California and Southern California especially, like, to climate change, would you say?
Well, it's really difficult to attribute one particular event to something as big as climate change, because, I mean, even back in the 1940s, it was known to snow back in Los Angeles on a kind of a regular basis. But what we can attribute to climate change is that we've seen more weather extremes. We've seen hotter temperatures, colder temperatures. Part of this is because of the jet stream. The jet stream is a fast-moving belt of air, high in the atmosphere. It kind of tends to stay a little farther north of us. And what's happened is, because the equator's kind of staying the same temperature, but the poles are actually getting warmer. So we're losing that temperature differential between the poles and the equator. And so what it's done is it's made the jet stream sloppy. So instead of kind of just being kind of a straight circle around the top of the Arctic, it kind of now is gotten like a loose rubber band. And so it's gotten wobbly and it's coming down lower now. So like if you remember back in Texas, they had that deep freeze not too long ago. I think it was like last year or the year before. And it was the same sort of situation where the jet stream dipped really low and the polar vortex was able to hit Texas. A few years before that, the polar vortex dipped really low into Florida. They had a deep freeze and the iguanas were freezing and falling out of the trees. And that's kind of what happened to us as well. The jet stream dipped a little bit lower. So we'll see more temperature extremes because of climate change, but you can't really attribute one specific incident to climate change.
That's really interesting. So you already sort of touched on like the changes that you've seen, but what is like some of the best ways that we as high school students can help with the environment?
Well, I'd say the most important thing that they can do is obviously all those things you learned as a little kid, you know, recycling and turning off the lights and not running the water when you're brushing your teeth. But, you know, the problem I kind of have with some of that stuff, especially recycling, is that we should recycle, but we use that as a panacea for everything. Oh, I'm recycling, I'm protecting the environment. But the problem is only about 9 to 12% of all the plastic is actually recycled, and we use it as an excuse to just overconsume. So really what you have to focus on is reducing your consumption, using less stuff, buying less stuff, not having the need to have 25 different pairs of shoes, just living more simply. The other thing that's really, really important is that we educate people, educate your friends, educate your family. And then, of course, the most important thing that you can do when you turn 18 is to make sure that you understand what you're voting for and to vote for things that you believe in. Vote for, you know, the environment.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So can you tell us about the drought in California? What might have been some of the causes, and is there any hope in the future that we could get out of it?
Well, you know, the thing with the drought is that as temperatures get warmer, it increases evaporation, and it increases evaporation from the soil in particular, and that years of desiccating the soil does one of the things that actually leads to the drought. It's very difficult, again, to establish that direct cause and effect link, but I think that we're going to have the same sort of patterns. We're going to have extreme drought, and then we're going to have a bunch of floods, and then there's going to be extreme drought and then floods. And that's kind of the thing with climate change, is it's going to bring about more extremes. I don't think we're going to ever completely get out of the drought. I think we're just going to see these conditions where we're seeing right now, where it's flip-flopping between the extremes. And it's not just California. We're going to see more intense hurricanes, more intense tornadoes. And if you just look back at the last few years, we keep saying, the weatherman, you know, we keep hearing him say unprecedented flooding, unprecedented hurricanes. A couple of years ago, we had more hurricanes in 1 year than we've ever had. So I think that's a big thing with climate change, is we're just going to see crazier weather, and it's going to cost us a lot of money, and it's going to cost lives, you know, people trying to deal with all of this crazy weather. And I've definitely seen a change, you know, since I first started teaching this class, in some of the weather patterns that we're seeing being a little bit more intense.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much, and have a great day.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for that great information, Ms. Seeley. Since we've been talking about environments and how stuff has been changing, we can go on to the topic of climate change and how the globe is changing in its temperatures, and how different storms and weather is being affected by this.
Yeah, and a lot of people just like say global climate change as like, they use it synonymously as with global warming, but like it's not really the same thing, you know, because there's some places like Europe, for example, that actually like are getting colder because other areas are getting warmer.
Mm-hmm. So like as the globe starts heating up and like the atmosphere heats up to higher temperatures, we have ice caps melting, and this fresh water is being introduced into the salt water of the oceans and kind of messes with the currents and how water gets shifted around.
Yeah.
Like there's a current in the Gulf of Mexico called the Gulf Stream, and it brings warm water up the Atlantic Ocean, up the east coast of the United States, and onto Europe. And this kind of helps Europe from like freezing over. But when this ice melts into the ocean, it can disrupt these currents, and it can cause freezing in certain areas that won't be getting this warm water anymore. It can also lead to like major storms in areas that are getting a lot of warmer temperatures, because it can like humidity can lead to hurricanes, and like in the cold areas you can get like blizzards and stuff. So it's like really dangerous, and that's why we have to like protect it.
Yeah, and like as like global climate change increases, like the weather around the world becomes like it goes to the extremes, you know, like instead of staying around like, you know, mild rain or like maybe a few storms but not anything extreme, it's starting to become like really dry and then really wet. It's not like equilibrium is like really important, like in anything. Like you need to like spend good time like for everything, each thing. You can't just do one thing like forever, you know. So but like the weather is becoming more extreme, and I think that's like also bad for like the earth as well, but bad for like humans too, because like there's natural disasters that occur because of like these extreme weather, like hurricanes and blizzards, stuff like that. And like California had like a big winter storm this year, and like people weren't prepared for it. Like people weren't expecting this big winter storm. So like, why do you know why like this was caused?
So the winter storm itself, I don't actually know much about, but other stuff about the climate I do know. Like in some areas where like if CO2 levels are rising due to like carbon emissions from cars or from power plants, this can lead to the greenhouse effect, where heat will get trapped in the atmosphere from the sun, and it kind of keeps it in. This also goes into like a term that we learned about in science. It's called the albedo effect, and pretty much light will reflect off of bright surfaces like snow, which will keep that area cooler. But if you have a dark area like a dense forest, it'll absorb that heat into the earth, and it kind of makes that area warmer. So when you have these CO2 levels rising, it also correlates with the rising of average temperatures in the atmosphere as well.
Yeah, and we're like slowly working our way towards a better climate with the introduction of like electric cars, electric like appliances such as electric stoves, which we will talk about a bit later. But like during COVID, the pandemic, there was like 1.5 to 2 years where not a lot of people were traveling, were using their cars. So I heard that like it helped the environment because like there's less CO2, there's less pollution, and overall like it just got a bit better. So what I learned from like other documentaries and stuff is that if we let the earth be, the earth is gonna heal itself. It's like a self-healing ecosystem. But like we're at this dangerous level where if we just go a bit more, then like everything like it could not be like returned to its original state.
Like if we just make the environment just a little bit too hot, then everything will just go crazy, and then it'll like make a bunch of humans die because of so extreme weathers.
I think you said it was like 2 degrees higher than right now, right?
Just just a little bit higher, and it won't be able to be returned. And this also goes back to the ice caps, because there's permafrost inside of like the glaciers, and there's methane gas trapped inside of the permafrost. So as the methane is released from the permafrost melting, methane is actually a greenhouse gas, which is it's like powerful. So that will also cause more climate change, and it's kind of like this like chain reaction where it melts, and then methane is released, makes it hotter, and then more stuff melts. So that's why we kind of have to work hard to reduce this, because if it gets to a certain point, we won't be able to stop it because it will get too severe.
Yeah, going back to like the electric stoves and stuff like that, like California is not banning electric stoves like many people think. We're not banning it, but we're not banning gas stoves, sorry, but we're just stopping the sale of gas stoves. And people are like have been not freaking out, but have been worried that like what if you're in a home with a gas stove? Like, is it going to be taken away? Are we not going to be able to use it? But that's not the case, right?
Yeah. So like a lot of times we're just stopping the selling of like stoves that will use natural gases or use fossil fuels that will release things. So they're not gonna like come in and just like remove it from your house. You're just gonna stop selling them and stop putting them into houses as they build them.
So like now, like if you move into like a house a few years from now, there will be electric stoves instead of gas stoves.
Yeah, most likely.
Okay.
And that also goes along with like gas cars, because in the future, people have been seeing stuff that like we're gonna stop making gasoline powered cars, and that freaks people out because like they can't afford electric cars. But that's not really the case. We're just like stopping selling them. You can still own your same gasoline powered car, but they're just trying to make switches to other alternatives, such as like hydrogen powered cars are being very popular right now. A lot of car companies are experiencing, like the Toyota made the Toyota Mirai, which they're focusing on trying to make that more affordable and more efficient than gasoline to make more people want to buy them.
And this is important. Like, this is really important because not only is it affecting us, like the people living on the earth right now, but it's also affecting what our later future generations can do. And going off of that, we just want to talk about like what activities we can do, because we're such well located in this area of California, where we just have the mountains are like 30 minutes away. The beach is just an hour away. The desert's an hour away, and like the city's an hour away. So like, what have you done like with those kind of advantages that you have?
Well, me and my family, we go to the beach a lot to hang out with like friends, and like it's really important to like protect those areas, because like I go to the beach and that's a fun place that we can hang out. So you're gonna have to like make sure you're picking up your trash, picking up your plastic. You don't want to pollute these areas that you can go have fun with your friends and your family.
Yeah, recently like we haven't been going camping or like going out because my parents are busy like working and stuff, but we used to go camping really frequently. Like every like time we had like a winter break or a spring break, we would go camping, because it's fun, like because it's fun, but like not only because it's fun, but because it's like it's really close. It's like fun to hang out with your family and like be in the nature, you know. And like if we don't stop this like climate change, all of that's not gonna be there for like future generations.
That's why it's like very important to keep stop deforestation. You want to keep these forests so you can go camping in them with your family. And a good way to do this is like stopping your carbon emissions. I know it sounds silly, but like you don't have to be vegan, but you just have to like eat less beef, because beef is actually a big contributor to deforestation and greenhouse gas emissions. Because like in places like Brazil, we see it very on a large scale. Large trees are being cut down in the Amazon rainforest to make room for cattle farms. And then cattle, as they eat and as they like burp, they release a bunch of methane and carbon dioxide, and we're getting rid of the trees that would be
like absorbing
converting
it,
that
right?
back into oxygen. So that's really dangerous. So like you don't have to stop completely eating beef, just eat it every once in a while. Just like limit yourself on it.
Yeah, that's kind of sad for me, because I really like beef,
Yeah,
you know. Beef is really good, right? But like I think I do need to maybe think about that.
And like you talked about how you went snowboarding this past break, and like if our weathers get to the extremes, we might not get snow, or we might get too much snow that we won't be able to get into the mountains.
Yeah.
And we won't be able to get to those fun activities like snowboarding or skiing that we all love to do.
And one problem that I found because of the extreme weather is that when it snows, like a lot of people at once go there because it's a rare event. And if we have like normal weather, like consistent snow every year, then that kind of rush won't happen. Yeah. So like, we just want to like point out like the environment's changing and we have to stop it. Or else like we won't be able to enjoy it anymore. So that's it for this episode. Thank you for listening, guys. And follow us on Instagram at the RCHS Podcast. And if you go to Rancho Cucamonga High School, join our podcast club. And we meet on Mondays after school at B103. And once again, thank you for listening. We're signing out.
Thank you for listening, Rancho.